Well, my question then is that now, as I understand it, there was an election in which one candidate, a tyrant dictator, ran unopposed, and it is his installation,
the vice president,
and it is his installation that Obama seeks to promote by virtue of his dictatorial and patently unconstitutional executive order. Why does Obama want this particular dictator in power in Yemen?
Well, I'll tell you, he was the vice president under Saleh. Saleh's government has been, ever since the bombing of the USS Cole, Saleh's government was very good for the United States, allowing the United States to go in, send drones. Yemen was the first country to suffer drone attacks in the whole world. And I believe they even tried this under President Clinton or right at the beginning of the President Bush administration. It was one of the early targets, that they used. I remember hearing about this new technology, this new drone technology, and how they could pick people out of the sky and they'd be driving down the street and boom, their cars would be exploded. And it was like the CIA joked it was the hand of God striking down the Yemeni people. Boy, we have just played into Al-Qaeda's hands so badly. We again, it's like American imperialism. We just don't get it. And we think of ourselves as an arrogant, elite, very elitist. We're superior in every way. So anyway, you asked me about President Saleh and Vice President. The Vice President is a continuation of Saleh's government. That's what he is. And it allows the image of democracy, but that the United States handpicks the candidate, refuse to allow opposition candidates to run. And again, many people are not fooled for a minute. They see exactly what's happening. So I do not hold out much hope for Yemen, but the consequences are going to be very severe. Because democracy, not because of democracy, but because Yemen urgently, the one thing that will save Yemen is for Saudi Arabia and the Gulf nations. It doesn't have to be the United States. But Saudi Arabia must start pumping money into Yemen. And instead they're like, let them eat cake. Like Marie Antoinette. The Saudi princes are like the Marie Antoinette. And we're going to end up with the French Revolution, believe me. It's going to be very ugly.
I wanted to ask you how the current activity in Yemen is going to, if you know it, if it will affect the price of oil, if it has anything to do even peripherally with the ongoing Syrian situation, and because of the close proximity of Yemen to Saudi Arabia, okay, is it going to have some kind of impact on Saudi Arabia? You mentioned the possibility of launching an attack on Saudi Arabia and the OPEC nations in general. What role does Yemen play in the Middle East situation as a whole?
In the current situation, it's very small. However, in the long term, in midterm, the next 3 to 5 years, it will become huge. And the goal of the Al-Qaeda forces, and they're winning right now, they're definitely achieving their goals at a very rapid rate. Their goal is to use Yemen as a launch point against Saudi Arabia. The United States will do everything in its power to stop that. However, Yemen is a mountainous area. It is many hiding places. It's very easy to sneak across the border and blow things up and come running back into the country. There are lots of suicide martyrs willing to do those kinds of things. And the desperation of poverty will create more motivations. There's such anger towards the Saudi government. Yemen feels that Saudi Arabia stole its historical land. So the upshot is that in the near future, Yemen won't have much of an impact. But in 3 to 5 years, it'll be huge, and it will come at a critical moment when the rest of the world when the Arab Spring is finally handed power solidly over to radical Islamic governments like the Muslim Brotherhood. And I shouldn't say that the Muslim Brotherhood is radical. The Salafists are radical. The Muslim Brotherhood, though, is very conservative and very deeply Islamic. And so what we're doing in Syria, places like Syria, we're knocking out the secular governments and we're installing radical Islamic governments who are then going to be very intolerant towards U.S. interventions in the region, and they will be much more protective of other Arab countries. So the United States now has a bulwark, and ironically, we're putting them into place. The secular governments would be more tolerant of foreign invasion. The new governments won't tolerate it at all.
Yeah, and that's our history, the U.S. history. It puts for the short-term gain politically, and it puts people in power who end up in the long term working against its own interests. That seems to be the pattern over the years. I want to switch gears here. There has been some serious talk, and if I didn't consider it at least a viable possibility, I wouldn't bring it up. But there's been serious talk about a possible CIA-sponsored nuclear incident at the London Olympics in late July. Have you heard anything about such an occurrence, or if not nuclear, some kind of event, some incident at the London Olympics?
I am expecting, we are overdue. I am kind of on pins and needles. I am expecting something in the United States, though. I don't know if it would be in London. I know that there's got to be concern over whether they can stop the election, perhaps, here in the United States. And some people, they roll their eyes and say, what? How could you possibly stop the elections from going forward? I think that they'd like to do that if they could. And a false flag terrorist attack inside the United States, I don't think London, I think it would be here in America.
So I take it
be very beneficial for the West.
I take it you haven't actually heard of anything through your sources that indicate something.
I haven't. I have not heard about London.
Yeah, I had not either recently, but the information I came across seemed viable enough that it hadn't occurred to me. But a nuclear incident at the London Olympics that would certainly give the powers that be some ammunition to do their deeds. All right, let's talk about false flag for a moment. Okay, during your time as an intelligence agent, have you ever encountered false flag plots, and did you ever participate in promoting and or supporting any such type of incident?
I never at any time promoted or supported the false flag. I was aware of them. Often, the way that it will happen is like Yemen, it's like the USS Cole is a really good example. That we discover an attack before it happens because our intelligence network really is that good. And if it happens, then 9 times out of 10 they've known it was going to happen and they've allowed it to happen. And that is the key. For example, the night of the USS Cole, I personally told the CIA and Defense Intelligence Agency 2 weeks before the attack. Then, the 4 or 5 days before the attack, I also told the Deputy Ambassador of Yemen. On the night of the USS Cole attack, the military commander of the ship ordered the crew to stand down its guard so that they would lower the security around the ship. You see? They knew the attack was coming, so they remove their security. How extraordinary. But the reason they did that is they wanted the attack to occur so that they could manipulate, they could use it as leverage against Yemen and force Yemen to let the United States enter the country, and not to set up military bases, but to establish operations, intelligence operations. And so this was very much planned out. And that's the kind of thing even I do expect them to do. Because if the attack occurs, it's because they want it to occur. Really. It only happens if they want it to occur.
Yeah, that's been my sense as well, but you are more firsthand in terms of making the evaluation. A comment from the chat room from Sapone. I think have terrorists among American politicians. Yesterday I read an article from Huffington Post which tells what a big player Mitt Romney has been in building up the surveillance of Americans. And, Sapone, I'd have to agree with you on that. Romney is a corporatist and a globalist. What do you think about Mitt Romney?
I think you're absolutely right. He is in it. He's in this for profit. If he takes over America, surveillance, military, industrial complex, it's all profiteering. And it is bankrupting the United States. They're willing, I think that Mitt Romney is willing to throw out the middle class and throw us out on the street, for his friends. I think it would be catastrophic for the United States if he wins. I am more and more concerned that he might. I know everybody's really hard on Obama, but I will tell you that the people who did this to me, the secret charges, secret evidence, the people who allowed 9/11 to happen were Republicans. And those people, if Mitt Romney wins, my enemies will come back to power. And I'm very frightened of what that will mean. So even if you hate Obama, be careful about supporting Mitt Romney.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't think it matters whether it's Republicans or Republicrats. It really makes no difference.
Yeah, Republicrats, yes.
They were a bunch of thugs, a bunch of outlaws. Congress recently debated and I think passed in the House the Expatriates Act, which effectively financially imprisons Americans to renounce their citizenship. Apparently, one of the founders of Facebook announced he was renouncing his citizenship so that he didn't have to pay certain taxes. They didn't like that. So now they're saying that, all right, if you want to leave America, we're going to take this and take that and take the other stuff from you. What are your thoughts about a government that seeks to make it impossible for individuals to leave it?
That's terrible. That's despicable. The way to do it is then to move your assets offshore and to leave the United States quietly, but make sure you've liquidated everything, and you've just got to get it out of the country before you make your announcement.
No question. I can help people do that. But my question for you is what your thoughts are.
Oh, I think constitutionally, I think it's despicable. I think that it takes away from the freedom of the people of the United States. I had thought that the Expatriate Act was also saying that anyone who there's another rule which I think is just odious, that they're trying to pass, that Joe Lieberman has put forth. And that says that if you oppose the government, you're guilty of treason. And treason nowadays is a very wide, broad term. It can mean anything. You and I could be engaged in treason right now. I'm not espousing any violence against anybody. I'm just exposing information. But the fact that we are exposing information that criticizes... Okay, but the thing is...
I want to get rid of the criminals in government. Now if there's anybody in government who wants to debate...
I agree with you. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. But you see, there you go. But that today, treason. So Joe Lieberman has a law that he wants to pass saying that if you commit treason, they can throw you out of the country. They can forcibly say, you're not an American anymore, and we are revoking your citizenship, even if you were born in the United States and you lived here your entire life and you've never set foot outside of your little hometown. The government says you are no longer an American. Get out. We're deporting you, evicting you from our country, and we're going to seize all of your assets and all of your resources. We're taking your house, your stocks, not that you would have any stocks, but whatever you've got, we're going to take it. And you're going alone in the world. And you're done. And to me, that is un-American. Because I have the right as an American citizen to oppose my government's policy. And that doesn't mean that I don't love my country. I think that sometimes to love the country, you have to oppose the government.
That's it.
If you really do love the country, you cannot stay silent when they do these things.
Thomas Paine wrote that government at its very best is a necessary evil. Most people think of that as meaning government is necessary. I never forget that means government is fundamentally evil. You are to oppose evil in all its forms. All right, the big question, I may have asked it once before, but I'm going to ask it again because time has passed. Do you believe there will be either Second American Revolution or a Second Civil War in America?
Yes. I think that within 5 or 6 years, I think it's very soon, we are pushing rapidly to a point. The government is making so many bad decisions, and ironically, the government is creating the tension that we are now responding to, and we feel compelled to respond to it. We're not being nuts, as they like to say. We're not conspiracy theorists. We're simply defending the values of this country. And as Thomas Jefferson said, the tree of liberty must be replenished from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. And we're at one of those stages right now. So I'm anti-war, and it does not make me happy to say that. But what the government is doing, some of the policies that I see coming, if they really go forward with stuff, there will have to be a fight because we have to save America from it.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Susan. Susan Lindauer is the author of Extreme Prejudice, the terrifying story of the Patriot Act and the cover-ups of 9/11 and Iraq. If you'd like more information about the book or about the work that Susan does in exposing these outrageous and offensive liars and thugs and thieves, www.extremeprejudiceusa.wordpress.com. extremeprejudiceusa.wordpress.com. Susan, I want to thank you for spending this time with us. It was an absolute pleasure. I really, really enjoy speaking with you.
It's always great to be on the show. Anytime, please have me back.
Thank you. I certainly will. Susan Lindauer. Again, that website, www.extremeprejudiceusa.wordpress.com. Thank you so much, Susan. And please, don't be disheartened. Keep up the great work exposing all the lies. It's so important, Susan.
Take care.
You take care as well. Susan Lindauer, Extreme Prejudice USA. .wordpress.com.